And what do you think? Where do you think the U.S. government will go in terms of how it views China, the CCP?
I think increasingly the U.S. government is recognizing that the CCP is an existential threat to the United States, and I would say that is, if you will, turning the rudder. To use a nautical metaphor, I think is a good one. The rudder is changing; it is turning slowly. That's not to say that it can't turn back a little bit at some times, but the U.S. government is beginning to recognize U.S. national security community and elsewhere that the CCP is a very dangerous actor in international politics, and their ambitions are the opposite of ours. And so they're an immediate and direct national security threat to the U.S. and its interests.
Do you think it's important for the US government or the media to talk about the weaknesses of China and the Chinese Communist Party?
Absolutely. I think it's, in a kind of an Oliver Cromwell, let's show the CCP warts and all. Right? Let's see what they actually do. And sadly, the abuse against Tibetans or abuse against the Uyghurs and Kazakhs and Kyrgyz Muslims, right, or religious, or the abuse that the ordinary Chinese individual has to go through are not well identified in American media, and they should be. That we're still profoundly ignorant of the abuses of the CCP within China because they just don't want to look at it for whatever reason. And I think that more attention needs to be paid to that very important topic.
I'm still amazed that forced organ harvesting is not a bigger issue than it is.
Yes, right. When you begin to recognize that, or the Islamophobia of the CCP, and we can go down the list of their gross human rights abuses, but also the belligerence, and this belligerence is unchecked, it's unfettered, and so I think that we're going to see very rapidly Xi Jinping move using coercive measures and kinetic measures, warfare over Taiwan or in other areas as well. I think that's more and more people are waking up to the fact that the CCP is defined wherever it's present by exploitation of people and the environment. And the more that message gets out, I think the better it is.
Well, it's not just internationally. I think people in China, too, are beginning to realize, or have already known for a long time, but just feel more able to talk about it, that the Chinese Communist Party is bad.
Right. The blank page protests, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can see the disaster of zero COVID, and then blank page coming out of that shows that the CCP has created a world-class surveillance state where it's very difficult to have open communication, but smart people, of course, can get around that. Determined and very intelligent people can get around that temporarily, at least. But the blank page protest, I think, we'll see rekindled. Right? It's not a one-off, but I think this is other places, other locations is going to surface time again, particularly as the economy is now declining. So that implicit bargain, at least in Deng's mind, that he struck with the Chinese people, Deng Xiaoping's mind, right, that you're going to back us and we're going to make you rich, right, is failing.
So you talked about a post-communist China. What do you think would be the major driving force of that? Would it be internal pressures, or does the United States have to play a role? Is it some combination?
I think it would be very modest. The U.S. has a very modest role to play in that. I think it's going to be an internal. It's going to be the Chinese people. They're at an elite level and mass level who are going to come to their own, if you will, solution to the abuses of the CCP and free themselves from it. Again, it's that you can't. I think. Rule for so long with an imported ideology, right, which is grafted on to essentially in a Frankenstein monster type of structure to control the Chinese people. China has an incredible political tradition and political thought and political culture, and China needs to be governed in accord with those political principles and not with the tyranny of the CCP. So it'll be the Chinese people who do it. It won't be outsiders.
It makes me think about a lot of times what the CCP attacks as its enemies. One of the things that's, I think, not really understandable to many in America or the West, that like they would attack an organization like the National Endowment for Democracy so hard, where like you understand maybe why they attack NATO or why they attack the U.S. government generally, and they can criticize its hegemony. But something like the National Endowment for Democracy, which what do? They give grants to like civil society groups, and they teach like different civil society groups around the world about like democracy and how that system works, etc. And I think it's because the CCP has put so much effort and propaganda over the decades into brainwashing the Chinese people into believing that the CCP is the only system. Like, this is the system. They kind of, the way you said, the Frankenstein grafting, where like they try to put on the mantle of Chinese culture as if like, okay, the Chinese culture historically, we have all this great traditions and 5,000 years of history, and it has ended in the Chinese Communist Party, which without the Chinese Communist Party, there would be no new China, right? So the idea of letting people even question whether there could be another system or another way of doing it is just fundamentally so dangerous to their legitimacy.
I think that's exactly right. To my mind, that's exactly right. I mean, that's why they walk on eggshells around those topics, because they know they're illegitimate, and they know that you can look at Taiwan, you could look at what Hong Kong was, or Macau, before they strangled them, and you could see that it doesn't have to be this way. It wasn't in China's past, and there are other countries where it's not, and in China's future, it won't be as well. But of course, the trick is getting there, right? That's devilishly hard, given that this is a surveillance superpower. But increasingly, to my mind, these guys are just out of gas, right? It's just like Mikhail Suslov is the last Bolshevik, and Xi Jinping is really the last adherent to that how the steel was tempered mindset, right? Of we're going to go and we're going to grab this society, we're going to turn it upside down, shake it, abuse it, mistreat it, those days are ultimately past, as the Chinese people recognize, and I think more in the West and more in the United States, even in the engagement school, are beginning to recognize that it's not good business, it's not good for the Chinese people, and it's time to consign these guys to the dustbin of history.
Well said. So for anyone watching, where should they go to learn more about what you do, your writings, your books?
Well, the Center for Security Policy .org. So Center for Security Policy as one word .org has most of my writings, and my books are available at Amazon. And Jim Fennell would hope to have in the not too distant future our book out, really looking at the question of how the United States worked to support the PRC's rise and how that could happen, and what needs to be done now to reverse it. So I look very much forward to having with Jim, joining Jim and you again to address that topic.
I'm looking forward to that too. I think that'd be a very interesting conversation.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of things we probably want to talk about, to say after that interview. But first, before I forget, I just have to thank everyone from the previous podcast who wrote in and said the movie I was thinking of was Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive. I'm so happy to know what that movie is now. Thank you very much.
I feel like the three of us need to do movie night and watch that.
We could.
We could do like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 you know.
The one I've been wanting to show you.
Uh-huh.
This is a deep cut for all of you. It's a movie called Hard Rock Zombies. It's a friend of my. It's a movie one of my friend's dad actually edited
Okay.
way back in the day. It's pretty.
Like, how back in the day are we talking?
It was like 80s or maybe 90s.
Hard
I
rock zombies.
Yeah, it's about this hard rock band, and not really hard rock.
Okay.
They're on a America tour, and they stop in this small town, and the small town it hates them. It's the kind of rock and roll is the devil's music, blah blah blah. So they stay in this creepy house, and then they become zombies.
Oh, they
As
become
happens.
zombies. Okay, I didn't see that twist. I thought they were gonna have to fight
Oh,
zombies.
there are some other twists in that movie that you would not see coming either.
Okay, well, great. Being that, like, you have also showed us what The Room,
Mhm.
They
The
Live.
Room is great. They Live is great.
The Happiness of the
Katakuri,
Katakuri,
that's a great movie.
which we couldn't finish. Like, Matt and I
I was
quit.
very
like,
disappointed by that.
That movie I did not like, but The Room was a lot of fun, and They Live was actually, I do think that was a great movie.
That is legitimately
classic.
a fantastic movie. That's not even like, it's not like good like the way The Room is good. It's just a good movie.
It's the way The Room is good is that it's bad.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes, but man, when he puts on those glasses for the first time, and then it's like the plot is revealed, like, whoa! If you don't know that's coming, great moment in cinematic history. So, welcome to Movies Unreviewed. Yeah, maybe we should talk about the interview we just spent an hour doing.
I agree.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I think what's so sinister about communism is how it can really lure people in with the promises of like this utopia. And then when people buy into it, they get really offended. It's like, well, why are you saying this is bad? I just want this utopia. And they don't realize they're actually on the highway to hell.
I don't think it's even utopia. It's just like, well, I just want things to be better.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm glad that Brad talked about the American origins of progressivism and the way progressivism was.
That it's something that, like you were saying about Chinese culture, communism is good at grafting things on.
Yeah, I think it's like, okay, they could take the mantle of progressivism or take the mantle of, Confucianism or whatever, and then it's hard to distinguish because, you get into, people get offended about things that you're not necessarily actually talking about.
Yeah, it makes it harder to, like, you don't even know what you're arguing about anymore.
Yeah, and I think that it is also hard for people to see the totalitarian end game, I guess, for I mean, it's easier to see it with Leninism or Stalinism, but I think you'd still even have people be like, well, Stalin was a bad guy. But if we had Trotskyist, communism, like, I think it's just hard to see that, ultimately, if you have the system, the way it's set up, like, there has to be a powerful state that controls everything. That's just the way the system is set up. And it's not,
It's like a perfect system of redistribution of resources requires a perfectly powerful government that can handle all of that redistribution.
And also, you can't question it.
Right. And so, but then this is fundamentally, I think, you look at, so this communist ideology infiltrates maybe an original progressive movement from the 19th century, where there are real abuses by the railroads or by, people in the state capital. But the solution isn't to have communism or to kill rich people and take their stuff. The liberal solution to that is to ensure a level playing field and allow for more competition, allow for individual liberties, so that you can grow organically and people can themselves compete with these powerful interests. So those interests become, by comparison, not so powerful anymore.
Yeah, it's that real focus on the individual rather than people as groups.
Right. And I think Brad made that point very well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that I think that's an issue a lot of people have, where they think all rich people are the enemy. And that's not true. There's like this narrow band of people who are rich who are the enemy. And that also includes people who are not rich who are the enemy. They're the dirty Reds, Shelley.
Thank you for watching this episode of China Unscripted. I mean,
Don't-
like, what are we?
Well, I mean, we already lost everyone after the movie review. They were like, oh, they already are off the rails. We don't have to watch the rest.
You just have to watch the place where we're off the rails, and then you know it's over.
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Well, no one's watching this now, so should we just all?
So you can just go ahead and say what we've been wanting you to say for years now.
Well,
Years.
Anyways, just so people understand what I was saying, there's like the enemies of society are people who want to establish totalitarian repressiveness. People I might call dirty reds, but you know, other people might disagree with that terminology. But so it is not like if you are rich, you are bad, and if you are not rich, you are good. I guess
mean,
even communists wouldn't say that because there's like, you know, the counter-revolutionaries and all those people.
Well, also China has more billionaires in its, elite political circle than any other country.
Yeah, but I mean that is the difference between like a society where communism has taken over and a society where communism is trying to take over.
I mean, do I have to explain again why I'm not going to say the thing you want me to say?
No, I think you're wrong. I think it's a great word, great terminology.
See, I actually agree with Shelley, but I still want to troll her.
Yeah, he still wants to egg me on.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's just my nature. I can't help it.
So you would rather commit like a strategic blow against your own best interests in order to
Anna,
just
you're
score
assuming
a
that
tactical...
is that is what it is.
Yeah, no, that is what it is. And surprisingly, yes, I would like to do that. Yeah, no, it's kind of inexplicable, but that's my personality.
Okay.
That reminds me of my friend in college through a communist party.
Okay, like a party?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I showed up dressed as McCarthy.
Wow.
Oh, what a troll.
But describe the Communist Party to us.
It was a very loose idea.
Okay.
Yeah, just I don't know.
There was like a company that used to sell T-shirts of the Communist Party, and it was like Marx and Lenin and Stalin. They had like lampshades on their heads and like red Solo cups. You know?
Oh yeah,
You've seen that, yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds like your friend's party wasn't quite so fun.
it was all right. I have that story to tell.
Hmm. Did they appreciate the McCarthy cosplay?
I don't think they really got the flavor of it.
I think it says a lot about your personality, though.
That I'm a bit querulous.
Yes, that you would essentially go to troll your friend's party.
No friend of mine is a communist. That's what I said as I slammed my little red party cup on the ground after losing beer pong.